Hey, what's up, guys? This is Dan, moneyandmovement.com. I am the retired broker. So, today I'm going to talk about how I first started in this business and how we started to get clients. When you start in this business, basically it's cold calling. I did a video on that, on the actual cold calling. But I'm going to talk about the experience from the first firm I started at. So, I started at a little firm in Detroit, Michigan. I'm not going to mention the name, I think they're still around, but they recruit heavily from colleges. So what they'll do, and if you're young, finishing up college, you have to be aware of this. A lot of these firms, they're going to promise you the world. And to a young 20-year-old kid, it's going to sound doable. It's going to sound great. So what they said is within 3 years, you're going to be making 150 grand a year. And I thought, I'll be about 25, 26, whatever age I was, that'd be amazing. Now keep this in mind. Doctors that come out of residency, they make about 180, 190 a year. So you're pretty much on par with a doctor in your mid 20s. That's never going to happen. It can happen after about 10 years. You might make that. So I remember in the interview, they were telling me this. And I said, I'm going to make 150 grand a year. Are you going to give me the tools I need to do this? And they said, yeah, we will. I was like, all right, great. So I went ahead with it. And they did give me the tools I need. They threw a phone book in front of me and said, call. That's what they gave me. So anyway, I started, and what it was is basically a cold calling pit. They, like the movie Boiler Room, if you've ever seen that, it was like that, but about maybe 12 to 15 people, much smaller. So they threw you in this pit, and it was every day, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. So you're working 8 to 8, but you start calling 9 to 8. And I think those were the legal hours. I think it might have been 9 to 9, but that's how we did it. So for 11, 12 hours a day, plus we'd have about an hour lunch where we couldn't leave. We had to eat in the pit. And then Saturday morning, we'd call 9 to 12. So we're working crazy hours and we're just cold calling. So the manager was only 26 years old and he was managing this financial firm. Okay. That should have told you something right there. But again, being young, you don't know anything. Being young and broke, what do you know coming out of college? So the manager, he was this real short, little, ugly, half French, half Mexican kid. And he said he made about 80 grand a year. And he would always brag about that, always tell us how he has so much money, how he has 30 grand saved up. And just looking back, this is just ridiculous. So he'd stand in there and make sure we're calling. He'd walk around the pit, make sure we're calling, make sure our script's tight, just make sure we're not taking a break. No leaning back, no looking at the ceiling, and just keep that phone in your hand and dial. So what we would do is we would call and try to get financial meetings. So DIs, discovery interviews, basically to set up a financial plan for the family. And we'd never want to get a one-legged DI. That means only the husband came. Because if it was only the husband, he could always say, well, I got to talk it over with my wife. I'm not ready to sign up with you guys just yet. And that would always happen. That would always be the excuse. He'd have to talk it over with his wife. So we would do that. We'd get meetings in, and how we'd start is we kind of tweaked our script. What we do is we start calling on home and auto insurance. And we'd say, hey, we're an independent agency. We represent many different home and auto companies, insurance companies, which was weird to me because I signed up to be a financial advisor, not an insurance salesman. But they made us switch and start calling on car insurance. I wasn't licensed in insurance. So I was unlicensed calling, giving insurance quotes. So what we did is we'd get them in on insurance, and then we'd try to sell them financial planning. So we'd sell them insurance, financial planning, and then we'd try to sell them estate plans as well. There'd be lawyers in our office as well. None of us were licensed to do this. I think I was actually calling before I had my Series 7. It was absolute insanity. So I eventually got my Series 7. I could sell financial plans and financial products, but I didn't have any kind of insurance license. But that's how we got them to get their foot in the door, because it was easier to sell home and auto than it was for finance and mutual funds. And then it got even more difficult when the do not call list came out. George Bush passed that law. So everyone signed up. I'm on the do not call list. It was like a $10,000 fine or something ridiculous. So we couldn't call the phone book anymore. So we got these pre-screened numbers, and it was all Chinese and Indian immigrants, which is fine, but there was a huge language barrier there. So we'd call and they wouldn't understand us and they wouldn't understand us. And it was just ridiculous. It really didn't work at this firm. We're a small, unknown firm calling new immigrants. Some people got Chinese people as clients and they had some decent money and it worked out a little bit. But as a long-term play, it was dead. There's no way we could have done this. So that's my first experience working in a boiler room. It was absurd. We got a couple clients in, but really, as a young man, you got to be careful of this. They're going to recruit you. They're going to promise you the world. It's never going to happen that way. It really isn't, guys. So hopefully you don't go through the same nonsense I did. Thanks.